All right, cool. So, hi guys, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I am Anchal. I run Sparklehood Startup School for Working Professionals, right? And we have Deepak here with us. He's founder of Slides, and he's the expert on pitch deck making. So I'll hand it over to him. Broadly, the structure will be for 1 hour 10 minutes. Presentation by Deepak, and last 20 minutes we can take a Q&A. I think anyone, if they have questions, they can either type it or we'll figure out how to kind of manage it at that time. Over to you, Deepak.
Thank you, Anchal. Hi, everyone. Just to be sure if everybody is on mute, right? I would request everybody to keep the questions, whatever questions you may have during the presentation, to yourself. And we will have around 15-20 minutes in the last to answer those questions. Is everybody able to see my screen?
Yes, Deepak, I think it's audible.
Yeah, okay. So, welcome to you for this session, which is called The Perfect Fit. I am Deepak. I'll just take a few minutes to introduce myself. So, I started my journey as a journalist. I was working with a business and technology magazine where I used to interview startups and founders about their funding round. So, this made me get into the ecosystem and understand that there is a definite gap between investors and startups when they go for pitching sessions. So I understood that there is there are a lot of great ideas out there, but they are not able to raise funding because they are not able to present it in the right manner. And that led me to start Slides. And it has been over 6 years. We have done over 1,000 presentations in the last 6 years, which has helped all the startups raise over $600 million of funds in total. Understanding understanding about the ecosystem, this made me jump into the ecosystem, at a later stage, which is an investor. I invested in a few startups, and so these are the companies whom I have helped in the last 6-7 years to raise funding. Are you familiar with these startups? Yeah, so in between, I'll keep asking some questions. You can just reply yes on the chat box. So, reviewing all these thousands of startup pitches over the last 6-7 years, across wide range of industries and wide range of stages, from very early to growth stage, and there are a lot of investment decks that I've worked on. You'll find a lot of pitch coaches out there who are who will give a lot of advice to entrepreneurs that this is how you should pitch and this is how you should not pitch. But actually working on pitch decks over thousands of them has made me capable of teaching these things to you. Apart from startups, I've also worked with investment companies like Bloom. All these companies you would be familiar with. These are VC firms. These are investment banking companies. These are angel investment groups. So we, Slides as a company, are partners to these firms, and we help these companies, portfolio companies, to get their pitch deck started. So in this session, we will cover these following topics: what to include on each slide of your pitch deck, what are different deck variations. So people say that your pitch deck should have only 10 slides, or it should have only 5 slides or 15 to 30 slides. There are different variations of deck, and where to use which type of variation, we will discuss about that. Then how to format, what are the frameworks that we should use during the pitch, how to prepare during the pitch, and what are the dynamics when apply while presenting the discussion. And finally, we will see some question and answers that investors look forward to. Is everybody following?
Deepak, a couple of people are saying that the voice is not very clear. I think everyone is on mute. Can we take a little bit, I don't know, a couple of seconds to just check if the voice is okay from your side?
Okay. Is it fine now?
Anshul, there is an echo. There's an echo.
So I'm getting different responses. I will also suggest that everybody, can turn their videos off because that may take some bandwidth. Okay, let's move forward. So these are the slides that should be covered in a pitch deck. The first slide should always be your cover slide. Second will be elevator pitch slide. Then there is a team slide. Let's everybody is familiar with these slides, so let's move forward and discuss each slide in detail. And let's see how you can do different variation of pitch decks. If you are in a, say, if you're presenting to a bunch of audience in a demo day, then you would be required to have only, say, 5 or 6 slides. Then you can select only team slide, market opportunity slide, market problem and current solutions, your solution, business model, and financial projections, and ask. This can be your 5-slide variation. If you have to have a 10-slider deck, then these are the slides then that you can have in your deck. What to have in the cover slide? So I have seen a lot of people, they don't pay too much of time in creating the cover slide, but this is the first impression that you'll be having with your investor. And what is very interesting about the cover slide? It acts like a billboard of your company. So because before even presenting the deck, there will be a 30 to 60 second of time where you won't be there on the stage. So this cover slide will be displayed on the screen. So you have to I'm getting some disturbances. Yeah, let's continue. So you should give some amount of time to dedicatedly do the cover slide. Some people put dates here. Some people put the file, company name and tagline here. You can also put if you have been part of an accelerator or you have won some awards, publications. So whatever you have, your brief achievements, whatever you have earned in the last few months or few years, let's put this on the cover slide, because this is like an advertisement to your company. Let's see some of the examples what we have done. Can you see the slide? So in this example, we have also included the founder's name. So it is a good practice to have the presenter's name on the slide. We can also write the purpose of the presentation. So because it's an investment pitch deck, we have written investment deck. Since this company was a part of Numa Accelerator, we have included the logo of that accelerator here. Next comes another important slide, which is the elevator pitch slide. So this is the first impression that you are going to build with your audience. And I have found entrepreneurs, finding a really hard time creating very concise elevator pitch slide. They usually put a lot of information on this slide. Ideally, you should have just a one-liner, which is very easy to read, and just add very good visuals to explain what your company does in the single line. Don't focus on what you're today. You have to show the vision, what you're looking forward to with your company. What do you want to become in the future? So you have to create a brief one-liner that will describe what is your business, what is the service you're offering, or what is the product that you have made. What is the core problem which you're solving with your product, and what is your vision. All this information should be conveyed in just a brief single statement. Let's see some examples. So you can also use analogy to compare your product with some well-known company or some well-known product which is out there. Here in this slide, we have compared this device called Gecko with a Swiss Army knife. So this will help the audience or the investors connect with your product better. And I've seen a lot of founders using analogies such as we are Uber for travel, or we are this for this. They'll say that we are Airbnb meets Expedia meets Pinterest. So it is always better to have an analogy or a comparison with a single product, not multiple. Because the investor should know that what you are going to talk about. If you are using analogies, just please keep it to one and only one that is the most known around the world. And it should also have a positive opinion among the people. So you should not associate your product or service with something which has a negative brand image. Next comes the team slide. So many people have varied opinions that where the team slide should come. It should come in the beginning, or it should come in the around the last. But my suggestion will always be that if you have a very impressive team, if you have a team which is very strong, this is the time when you should talk about it. Investors will want to know who are they listening to, or if your team is capable enough to talk about the product which you are going to present. So this is the time you should brag about yourself and your company or your team members, and just keep the team slide to the founders and the chiefs of the company, because those are the people the investors will be investing in. You don't have to give more, a lot of details about how many employees are there and all those things. It is always best that you add some photos on your slide, because it's always good to see faces. And you can also add some some experiences, what you have, if you have been founder before, if you have had successful exits, even failures. If you have started companies in the past and have failed in making it reach to a certain level, that is also good, because failures give you a lot of experiences that even successes don't. And that will always have a strong plus point with the investors. They will want to invest in entrepreneurs who have failed in the past. You can also add your education details. If you have high profile education institutions behind you, like IIT, IIM, Stanford, Harvard, then it's best to add those educations also here. So basically in this slide, we are trying to show that we are the right team who can execute this business. Let's see some examples. So you can see here, I have used the company's logos where these people have worked in the past. Since they are starting up a company which is an NBFC, which is related to finance, it's great for the investors to see that these people have earlier worked in HDFC Bank, Yes Bank, ICICI Bank, Aditya Birla Finance. Next slide should be your advisory board. So it's always great if you are an early stage company. It is always great to have some experienced people on your advisory board. If you don't have a board of directors, that is completely okay in your early stages. But you must have an advisory board who will give your business legitimacy, their knowledge, and sometimes they also invest in the company, or they can recommend you to their investor friends, or they can introduce you to the industry for maybe clients or customers. And plus, one more advantage of having an board of advisors rather than having a board of directors is that you don't have to spend a lot of money initially to for their remunerations. So board of advisors generally take about 1 to 2% of equity. That is a standard industry standard. And this always have a plus point with investors. They will, if you have some big names in your advisory board, you earn brownie points with that. Here are some examples. Yeah. So now we'll talk about the market. The market, what is your target customers? And how big is your market that you are going to cater to? So you have to tell here that are you in a healthcare business? Are you in energy business, retail business? And then you have to, after indicating which industry you are in, you have to size it up. You have to tell, how big is the market. And it's not just, you don't have to give a generalized view of the market size. It's very annoying for the investor when they say that we are part of a multi-billion-dollar industry. So that means that the founder is not has not done his homework and he doesn't know what exactly their target customers are. So it's always you should spend some time, do a lot of research, and try to find out the total addressable market. So say maybe if you have a shoemaking company, shoemaking company is a multi-billion-dollar industry, but are you selling luxury shoes or are you selling sports shoes? So that you have to define clearly, and based on that, you have to calculate your total addressable market and show that number here. I have seen a lot of entrepreneurs also assume that investors already know about the industry, and why do we have to give them detail about what industry we are in, how big is the industry and all. But that is a very wrong notion. Many times investors they are not aware about what industry you are working in. So it's always, you should just assume that the people who are sitting in the front, they don't know about your industry at all. So you have to give them as much detail as possible here. And you have to tell them why the time is right now. Why this is the right time to start this business or launch this product. So it can be that the product which you are working on, this is the best time to launch it right now, rather than it was 3 or 4 years back. So these are some examples of market size slides which we have done. We'll be sharing these slides after the session, so you can spend
lot of amount of time to study these slides. Next comes the most important slide of the deck, which is why you and the investors are here in the meeting. So now we have to talk about the problem. What is the single big market problem or the unmet need which you are going to solve? So let's take an example. Say iPad. Now we never knew the population of the world never knew that we need something like an iPad ever. Why do we need a screen which is bigger than phone and smaller than a computer? But Apple came into the market and they were able to show that why it is needed. So there were other companies also, but Apple won the race and they were able to have a product which became very famous and a lot of people went gaga about it. So when you're talking about the problem, I've seen a lot of startups, they have a really hard time telling about a demand which doesn't already exist, like an iPad. But it is very difficult for an early stage company to create a demand which doesn't exist already. I have seen a lot of market leaders are there who can do that, but it gets very difficult for startups to do. Also, many times problems can be the solution which are already existing. You'll be working on some solution. There might be some existing solutions in the market. They can be the problems which you can talk about here. Also, the biggest competition, you should understand that the biggest competition here is the status quo. It's very difficult to change the consumer's behavior. People might be habituated by using certain product in a certain way. If you have to change their behavior, that can be your hardest problem to solve. So about 7-8 years back, people came with an online visiting card instead of a physical business card. They came up with a virtual card which you can use on your mobile phone. So that was very difficult to do. It is always great to give some examples and make it obvious for them to say that why there is a huge problem here. You have to definitely nail this part. The problem slide is something you should spend a lot of time on, because if you are able to build the story here on the problem slide, the investors will pay more attention on your solution slide, which is going to come next. It's always great to put some emotional attachments. Let's see some examples. Now, here is a slide for which everybody waits for. The investor, the founder, everybody. And these are, you can have your solution on a single slide, or you can spread it across multiple slides, say 1 to 5 slides of your presentation. Since you have to give more detail about your solution. And this is the reason they are investing in your company. So you might want to focus on this. But you have to understand that this is, you don't have to give all the details on the presentation here. You can talk about the core solution, what you are having. And it's always great to have screenshots in the PowerPoint itself. If you are building a product which is a mobile product, an app-based product, then it is always great to have screenshots right there in the PPT instead of having a demo session other than the presentation. because you might have only 10 to 15 minutes to present. If you have more than 30 minutes for the presentation, then you can have a demo session apart from the deck, but it's better always to have screenshots here. And also it is recommended, I personally will recommend that don't have videos on the presentation. First, it will make your file very heavy. Also, a lot of times the videos tend to fail playing in the system where you are going to present it. So, and also the investors have come to see the founder presenting, not a video being presented. If that was the case, they could always, have you could always send a link to them, a YouTube link, and they could see it. So keep it very simple. Keep the screenshots. Detail your solutions here. Don't have video. Here we have some screenshots on the solution slides. The traction about slide. This is also one very important part of the presentation, because whenever you are presenting to an investor, you are not the only one who is doing that. There will be many other startups in your similar industry who have presented. The VC funds and angel investors, they get hundreds of pitch decks every day, and you want to stand out of all of these companies. So what happens is you will explain the investors about your problems, and the solution that you are providing. But when these VCs, they will go to their offices and they do their homework, and they find some companies which are having similar product out there. So they will tend to choose the one who has grown much better than everybody else, who have won some nice awards, who have had good traction in the past few months. So it becomes very important that you spend some time on the award slide also. And what have you achieved? How many users you have been able to onboard? What are your initial revenues? What is the conversion rates which you are getting? And it's better to not have timeline which is very long. It's great to have 6 to 12 months. What have you achieved in the last 6 or maximum 12 months? You can show your key matrices like user growth, conversion rate, CAC, LTV. If you have a SaaS-based product, then how many recurring purchases you are getting? What are the average price of the customers? All those things. And how are you able to improve efficiency? If in case you have done some testing, if your product is not launched yet, but you have done some testing, you can show the results of those tests. So now I'm sure people, you would be aware of this product called Gecko. It came out about 7-8 years back, and Steve Wozniak had tweeted about this. And because of that tweet, everybody started talking about this product. So it's always great for the founders to show that particular tweet in the investment pitch deck. This is an investment pitch deck of Licious. I'm sure everybody will be aware about Licious. So whatever media coverage they've got, they have shown it on the pitch deck. This is another way to show how the traction. So ClickBuzz, how many users they have, what rating they have got. They are among the top 3 most downloaded sports app in the world. Everything they are put in this slide. Yeah, so this is one question which I always get. What if we don't have any traction? We have just started. What do we put here? So I will suggest that don't say that we are a startup, we don't have any revenue yet. Even if you are pitching it to some angel, they will at least want to look at some kind of feedback that you have got from your customers, even on the MVP product which you have. So it's always great that if you have not launched your product yet, you go to some of your friends or family and try to get their feedback. How do they like the product, and are they able to use it to the optimum level? And have those feedback here on this slide. Never say that we don't have any revenue, we don't have any traction. Then we talk about the market fit or the competition. How are you fitting in this industry, and are you faring good with in comparison to other startups out there? So investors, they don't, as I said, they don't know about your market. So you need to be very clear on who your direct competitors are. This is also one of the biggest mistake which I've seen people and founders do while pitching. That and most of them are first-time entrepreneurs. So they say that we don't have any competition. And what happens is that is such a companies scare the investors a lot, because they will be the first thought they will get is these people are trying to do something which nobody else has done before. So should we bet our money on them? You will end up looking stupid if you say that we don't have any competition. There can be times when you don't have direct competition, but I'm sure everybody has some kind of indirect ones. So there can be some companies, some bigger players in your same industry who, when they get to know that this particular company has come up in the market, they can just put in some money and launch a similar product. So they can be your indirect competitors. And so I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, they say that we have the first mover advantage. We are nobody else has entered this space of the industry. But if you see that first mover advantage, a lot of time in many successful companies, if you have seen like Facebook or Google, they were not first movers. In social media, there was Friendster, Orkut, MySpace before Facebook. In search engines also, there was other companies before Google came up with its search engine. It's not about if you are the first mover or not. It's about how are you able to learn from the companies which have come before you, from their mistakes, and come strongly, beat them out. So it's usually the second or third companies that make it big in an industry. So from the investors' point of view, they sit back and they see them. They will if some new company has come up in a particular industry, they will sit back and they will see that let them do some mistakes, let them fail, let some other company come who learn from their mistakes and build a better product. We will invest in those companies. So never ever say that we don't have any competition. And it's always great to tell you that give them reasons, tell the investors that not just why you are better than your competition, but how you are 10 times better than that. So you would remember that WhatsApp was purchased by Facebook for $19 billion. At that time, there were other messaging companies too. But what WhatsApp did better was they put their everything, all their technology, all their resources in making the messaging, a simple thing called messaging, very efficient. So as simple as just sending a text message, they did it 10 times better than everybody out there. And they were not focused on doing, adding features on the application. They wanted to get one thing right, and they did it 10 times better than everybody else. Let's see some examples. So if you can see here, we are comparing this particular company with the popular apps out there, Zendesk, ShareIt, SeatShare. That how it is faster than the other file sharing apps. This is another way to show competition. These are various ways in which you can show how you're better than your competition. A lot of people use this kind of competition slide, but this is not wrong, but it will make you look only 2 or 3 times better than your competition. So it's better to have such kind of slide in appendix. The investor will get an idea that you are only competing with other companies in terms of features. Now, when you have talked about competition, it's very important to talk about the advantages which you have over them. You can talk about how how your cost is low, how you have a better technology. It can also be in terms of clients that you have or your team. If you have very well-known people in your technology team, then or you have some MOU signed with some big companies out there who are ready to be your client. And also partnerships. So if you are building some product, you must be having some partnership with some companies out there. It's great to show those partnerships here. Like this company is showing that they are partnered with Jio, Cardico, Reliance, some big names out there. Now we'll talk about the business model. What is your product all about? What is your company all about? And how are you going to make money out of it? Because after all, the investors are here to talk about money. So when you're talking about the key revenue streams, it's great to show there can be hundreds of revenue streams in your company, but show only the most important ones that are giving you the 80% of your revenues. No need to show all the revenue streams here. You can also talk about what are your pricing model, and this is also one mistake which a lot of founders do, that they are not sure about why they have arrived at such pricing points. You should, if investors ask you that why are you charging this amount, you should always have an answer that we did some research, we found that there are other companies that are charging this rate, so we wanted to charge a little lesser than them. You should definitely have a good logic behind why are you charging, what are you charging. If you are a subscription based company, a SaaS company, talk about that, because it's great to have a recurring revenue. Investors love businesses that can generate returns on a regular basis, instead of only one-time purchase. So, say a sofa set or a mattress. So people will buy these products only once in 10-20 years. So I'm not saying these businesses are not good, but if you are going to an investor, a VC, for funding, they will not be impressed by such models. A few years back, about 10-12 years back, people used to buy mobile phones only once in, say, 5 or 6 years, maybe 10 years. But now iPhone launches every year, because they do a lot of R&D. They come up with great features, and they have created an environment that people are buying phones every year when they are launching. That is also an investor friendly business. Some young companies like the Bombay Shaving Company, Ustra, Slag, Furlenco, all these companies have changed the business models. All these are subscription based companies. So it's always great to have such a recurring revenue model if you can have. Talk about your revenues, talk about your churn rate. Don't put everything here, but all these are important points which you should have. What is the conversion rate? How many people are coming to your arriving at your product or website, and how many are able to convert? It's great to have a 10-20% conversion rate than 1 to 2%. You can talk about the lifetime value of a customer. So say if you have a customer and they have a life, they are able to be stuck to your product for over a year. That's a very great advantage, and it is a plus point in terms of the investment. Talk about your customer acquisition cost. That is a very important number which investors look forward to. Some examples for the business models. Now, as important as earning money is, the expenses are also equally important. How are you going to spend the money when the investors give you that money? So definitely, if you are going to ask money to the investors, you have some plans on how are you going to spend it, right? So you have to take this slide and talk about what all, where are you going to do your marketing, and how are you going to acquire your customers. If you have to keep in mind that if you are not able to scale your business very fast and that too economically, then it becomes a very capital intensive business, which is not very attractive for an investor. You should aim to have at least 3 times more growth than your nearest competitor. You have to talk about your customer acquisition cost. That is, as I mentioned, it is a very important number which investors look forward to, and a lot of startups miss out on that. So do your calculations, come up with a number that how much you are going to spend to acquire one single customer. What is your monthly burn rate? If you are, say, an investor is ready to give you $1 million and your monthly burn rate. So burn rate, if you, I'll briefly tell you, burn rate is how much money you are spending over and above what you are earning every month. So say if you are earning $500,000 every month, but your expenses are $600,000. So $100,000 is your burn rate. And if you have got an investment of $1 million and $100,000 is your burn rate, then you will run out of that money in 10 months. So an investor needs to know that if I'm giving money to these people, how long will it last? And in that period, will they be able to raise a further investment, or can they be bought out by some bigger company or not? Because they want to make money. They are here to make money. They want a good exit out of your company in few months. Let's see some examples. Financial projections. So entrepreneurs, I've seen a lot of people, they face very difficulties in talking about their projections, because most of them are not aware of finance, how finance happens. They are not finance graduates. But you must take help from whoever you can and try to do at least 3 to 5 year projections for your company. And it can, everybody knows that projections, it's very difficult at an early stage of your company to exactly figure out that how much you're going to earn in the next 3 or 5 years. But it's okay. Investors understand that it is difficult to predict. But you should, if you are doing a business, you should have some idea that how much you are going to earn, generate revenue in the next few years. And this is a good time period, 3 to 5 years, because that is a time period when an investor will look out to exit from your company. That doesn't mean that you put any random number out in this slide. Have some logical explanation on how are you presenting these numbers. Here are some examples. And usually an investor will look to have around 6 to 12 times exit from whatever the money they have put. some companies also, if you are at a later stage, you can have some historical numbers also here. How have you fared in the last 3-4 years? As I told you, that exit strategy is a must to have in a tech. The investors are here to know how much money he can make and how are you ensuring that he will be able to make money. So this is a very important slide with the perspective of an investor. A lot of people come to me that we don't have an exit strategy defined yet. But even if you are an early stage company, then to the angels whom you're going to pitch to, they will want to have an exit. They will want to know that how am I going to make money? So you tell them, you just give them an idea that in the next 1 or 2 years, we are looking forward to get acquired by, say, Google or Flipkart or whatever, whichever industry you are in. You should have at least a rough idea that what are you planning to do in the next couple of years. One more thing is that IPO is one, if you are at a later stage, you have already raised Series B, Series C, then you can look forward to raising an IPO in the next couple of years or maybe 3-4 years. That also is a very great exit opportunity for investors. And now comes a slide for which you have started the meeting with the investors. What is the capital requirement which you have? Here you can talk about the stage of your company, how much you have, if you have raised some money in the past with your friends or family, if you have done some valuation with the finance person, CA or somebody, you can talk about those numbers here. You know, what is your current valuation of the company? If you have raised investment in the past, then who are those investors? What is your monthly burn rate? How long will the new money which you are going to raise will last? And how are you going to use that money which you are going to raise? Give as much detail as possible here. You have to talk about that. If you are raising, say, $1 million, are you going to hire more employees with that money, or are you going to develop your technology, whatever? So that is the very important part. Like in this example, the startup is telling that we need 5 crore rupees for the next 12 to 18 months, and this is how we are going to spend. We are going to spend in technology about 18%, customer acquisition around 26%. So investor will get an idea that if I'm putting in money, these people know how to handle that money. Now these are the type of investors that you can go to depending on the stage which you are in. So if you are a very early stage company, you are on an idea stage, you can go to your friends or family. You can crowdfunding has become very popular these days. So you can go to these crowdfunding platforms and raise money to launch your first MVP. If you are at a little later stage, you have an MVP ready. You want to have a kickstart, then you can go to accelerators, incubators. There are a lot of out there. Sparklehood is one of them. If you are at an idea stage, there are seed funds. After accelerator incubators, you can go to seed funds. You can go to angel groups, or if you are able to get introduction directly to an angel, you can pitch to them. And if you are at a later stage series, if you are going to raise Series A, Series B, you can go to VC funds or PE funds. PE funds comes at a very later stage. But you have to keep in mind that if you are going for accelerators, incubators, you'll have to shell out a lot of equity to them, because in your early stage, the valuation of your company is very low. So depending on if you have a low valuation and you are going to raise, say, a huge amount of money, then you'll end up shelling out a lot of equity in your company. So it is always recommended that you push your first round of investment as far as possible. Then we will close the presentation. We'll have this closing slide. Have a good graphic, a good your company branding here. You can have the link to your websites here. If you have some want people to ask some questions, say there are some frequently asked questions, you can have those here. You can have your contact information. And purpose of this slide is that you have to impress the audience with your branding. And also the goal of this meeting is to get the next meetings. That is a very important part. Let's see some examples what we have done. This can also, you can see that closing slide like a billboard, as we discussed about the cover slide. Because this is also going to be on the screen for quite some time. If you are in a demo day kind of event before the next speaker is arriving on the stage, this can be there on the slide for a few seconds until they change the presentation to that person's stage. So these are the 15 slides which should be in your deck. Apart from that, there can be some slides if you want to put, but you can keep them in appendices. So that the most important slides are there in front. If investors want to know more in detail about your business, then they can go to these slides. You can have your timeline slide or value proposition, detailed financials, details about the LTV, CAC, and churn rate. Or if you have signups with some potential clients, you can have those. If the partnership agreements which you talked about in earlier slides, you can have those agreements screenshots here. And you can also talk about your capital structure, how the shareholding is divided in your company, all those things. And when during the meeting, if investors ask a particular question, you can go to these slides and show them. I have some appendix slide examples also here. So in this slide, Whoopler is talking about how similar companies out there in other part of the world have raised investments. So this validates the idea that since they are raising funding in USA or in China, we are in a similar market and we are trying to do that in India. This is a shareholding structure like we spoke about. These are some guidelines which everybody should follow. The number of slides, as I told you, if you are going for a pitching session, a demo day kind of session where you have only 2 minutes, it's best to have only 5 slides in your deck. If you are given 5 minutes, you have 10 slides. If you have 10 to 20 minutes or half an hour, then you can have 15 to 30 slides depending on what stage of your company is. Try to keep your slides clean. Don't put a lot of information, a lot of text on the slides. Keep your slides clean and try to show, don't tell. That's a very important part. Have a lot of images, graphics, diagrams that will explain your product or service better than just having some sentences there. Check for typos or some errors. If you are talking a lot about numbers like CAC, LTV, financial projection, make sure that it's to the point. There should not be any error in that. Check your formatting, consistency in the fonts which you are using, colors, and everything else. This is a very important point. Font size. Make sure that you use only font size which are 20 size or larger, because if you are going to have smaller font, then you will tend to have a lot of information on the slide. It will stop you from stuffing the slide with a lot of content. Also, it will look good on screen if you are presenting to a large audience. And depending on the setting which you are presenting, if you are presenting in a dark room, it's great to have dark backgrounds with light colored text. If you are presenting in person, one-to-one meeting, then you can have white backgrounds. Good to have page numbers also. Some important points that you should take care of before you go for the pitch. Never ever do cold emailing to investors. It won't land you anywhere. It's better to have an introduction to an angel or a VC. If you are sending them a random email, they will definitely not going to answer that because they are getting hundreds of emails every day. If it comes with a reference that somebody introduced you to that particular investor, you'll get a response even if they are interested or not. It's do your homework. If you are going to pitch to a particular VC or an angel investor, see their portfolio if they have already invested in a similar kind of company or not. Review their investment criteria, study what their philosophy is, what type of industry they invest into, what is their general ticket size. Do they invest in the range that you are going to ask them for? And what stages, if you are at a seed stage and you are going to a series A and higher investors, it won't make sense because they just don't have the philosophy of investing in a very early stage company. So it's always great to do your homework before you go to if investors also do homework before meeting a startup. In the same way, you should also do your own homework. Also if you are meeting a particular individual in that VC firm, it's good to have studied about that particular investors too. And it's very important you practice your pitch. How are you going to structure your slides? What are the transitions you are putting? If you have created the presentation which is auto running, check the timing of each slide. All those stories. If you keep yourself prepared to the questions which you might get during the presentation. And this goes without saying. If you are given some time, make sure that you arrive at least 10 minutes early, set up your computer projector, connect your computer to the Wi-Fi, check if your slides are looking good on the screen, everything. Apart from that, check your own appearance. What are you going to wear in the meeting? Business casual is always appreciated. It's these days you don't need to wear a suit unless you want to. Business casual works fine. How are you going to pitch effectively during the presentation? These are some important points which you should follow. You give your introduction. When you're talking about yourself, be polite. You try to grab their attention in the first 1 minute because most of the presentation will be the investor will decide mostly in the first 1 or 2 minutes of the presentation. And show your excitement. If you have built a product, if you have a great service, great company, then show that excitement in your voice. Talk instead of just putting in numbers and talking about facts. Tell a lot of stories which associates with your product. And if I've seen a lot of people, they use a lot of jargons about their industry. So that is not very impressive. Many of the investors, many of the audience, they won't understand some of the jargon. So it's better to use very common language, be very likable, friendly, and you can have some anecdotes which are funny. You can crack a couple of jokes, but just see that you don't make it a comedy scene. You have to make yourself likable. And make sure that you don't have more than 2 presenters. I've seen some pitches where all the 5 or 6 founders will be on the stage presenting their business, which is not advisable. If the presentation is going to be less than 10 minutes, then just the CEO should present the pitch. If they are going to be 10 to 20 minutes of session, then you can have 2 founders presenting them. And connect with your audience. It's always great when you face the audience and speak, instead of seeing the screen and reading out the slides. And speaking speaking slower than normal. That is very important because it will it will be easier for the audience to understand you, and also you will sound a little wiser. Don't show video, as I earlier told you. These are some documents which you can be ready with before a pitch. First meeting PDF. So sometimes the investors can say that send me your deck. Let me glance through it, and then we can set up a meeting. So you can send your core slide deck. You can skip away the appendix slides, and it's great to send it in a PDF. Don't send a PPT version of your file. Then you can have some additional slides which can be used for a follow-up meeting. Maybe you can include the appendix slides. Investors can say, okay, we liked your deck. It's great. Send me your pitch deck. Then you can send your detailed one. And after the investors show interest in your business, they are ready to invest in your company. Then you can have a very detailed pitch deck which tells everything about your company, because you have to have that. You can't hide anything from the investor. You have to tell everything in detail. So that particular file you can keep when they show interest in your business. These are some questions which the investors can ask during a meeting. So make sure that you are prepared with answers to these. When did you start raising the round? How did you meet your team members? They are very interested in what is the chemistry between the founders. It's a plus point if all the founders have known each other from, say, 10 plus years. I've seen a lot of companies getting funded because of the chemistry of the team. It's the most important thing. Why did you locate your company here? It is one more question that you can get, that why you chose Bangalore, or why particularly San Francisco, or whatever. What was the passion behind creating this company? So you must have an answer. You can't just say that because I wanted to do a business, or I didn't want to do a job, that's why I started a company. If you have started a particular, if you are in a particular industry, if you have some product, show that passion, that why did you start. Maybe you would have faced some problem somewhere and you really wanted to give a solution to the world out there, and make sure that they don't face the same problem that you have had. Such kind of logic behind you should have. What are your valuation? Have you invested any of your money? This is very important. If you say that I have put say 5 lakhs of my own savings in the company, you'll definitely get a plus point. Investors love the founders who are very committed to the business. If you say that no, I have not invested any of my money, that might have a little negative point, because they want to show that are you actually really committed to this. Some founders say that I am not full time into the business. It's okay at the idea stage, but once you start getting traction, you need to have the founders at least to be working on the idea, on the product full time. As I mentioned before, when you talk about your board of advisors, the investors want to know that are they going to invest in this round, or have they earlier invested in the company? Are you a starter or finisher? Target market size, market penetration, traction, all these things which we already spoke about. So you should have either slides made, or you should have the answers ready when the investors talk about it. Yeah, so that's all from my side. Anshul, let's open for questions.
Yeah, so I think there are 3 questions already. We can start with those, and then I guess others can ask questions after that.
Yeah, sure.
So I think the first question was by Siddhi Priya, I think around the team slide. Is it necessary to add introduction of co-founder, or just name and photo is enough? Also, if introduction, what should be ideal intro?
So as I mentioned that, let me go to a couple of example slides. So I mentioned that you can have if you have started some companies in the past, if you have had some successful exits, if you have been founder before, so it's great to show those achievements. Also education. So as you can see in this slide, that we are talking about Amit, and he was a founder of InMobi before starting this company. He has already raised $220 million from SoftBank. He has studied from IIT Kanpur. So all these achievements add on to the profile. And the question was particularly about co-founders. So it's a must. If all the co-founders who have started the company, all those people should be on this slide. If you don't have space, you can skip the photos, but never your achievements. Also, what are the responsibilities? You should talk about what particular founder has handling in the company. What are you responsible for in that company? You can also have some links of your LinkedIn profile. If you have a good Twitter account, you can have a link to that.
All right. The second question was also, I think, around the same thing. What about solopreneurs?
Solopreneur, so it's good. You can have just your profile. You can take the full slide to talk only about yourself, brag about yourself, what achievements you have had.
Right.
Yeah. At an early stage, it is fine, but if you are at an idea stage or seed stage, it is fine with the investors. But in most of the cases, the investors will suggest you that they will recommend you to have a co-founder with you. They can, if that investor is investing in your idea or your product, they will also introduce some people who he might find fit for this particular company.
All right. So in the interest of time, moving to the next question, if this is Nidhi Upreti, market fit related question. If our product is a new category, how do we address marketing challenges?
So as I told you that if it is something new which has never been done before, you can always have, if you have friends, everybody has hundreds of friends at least. You can go to your friends, have their feedback, talk to them, or you can circulate it to some of your alumni group. You can go to some co-working spaces and have some kind of feedback method to your product. You can't just say that this is something new which only I am doing and I don't have attraction, or I don't know how this is going to work. That will earn you some negative points. So go to your friends, go to your family members, talk about your product, see what their responses are. Let them use your product. Let them tinker around with your app, or if it's a physical product, let them see, feel, touch the product, and get some feedback.
Okay. I think next is Anuj. Anuj, do you want to ask the question?
Sure, Anchal. Thanks. Am I audible?
Yeah, Anuj, go on.
Yeah, hi Deepak. Great presentation so far. So my question is related to the market opportunity or the opportunity size.
Mhm.
So, we are building a tool, and right now it is being deployed in the market for a particular industry. And so my question is, the industry which we are targeting right now, the opportunity size seems not to be a big, but that tool can be replicated to another industries, the similar tool. So should we include the opportunity size of other industries as well to make it, or to you know so that the market opportunity size seems to be a bigger, or we can just say that about the particular industry, and we can just say this particular tool can be replicated to other industries and the opportunity.
I got your question. So, like I said, that you can have a generalized market sizing. give an overall market size which includes all the industries where it can be used. Have that number, and then boil it down to a smaller number which talks about the current addressable market. So say if you are, whatever the product which you have, if you are targeting only healthcare companies currently, then you talk about that particular industry as your target, your addressable market size for now. But you tell the investors, you have that in your slide, that this can be replicated to other industries, and these are the industry sizes of these particular industries. So say if I'm building an aggregation automation engine, I'm trying to aggregate, say, medical stores in Bangalore. I want to bring all the medical stores under a single platform, and I have built an automation tool for that. So now currently I'm targeting only the medical store, only the healthcare industry. But that same model can be replicated, and I can use it to aggregate, say, grocery stores. So have both the numbers, have a total market size and then have an addressable market size.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. I think this is an interesting question related to your services in a way. What's your take on a founder making the investor pitch deck versus done by a professional pitch deck company or expert?
So this answer can be very biased because we are into that business. But so I'll tell you, I'll be very honest here. Everything depends on the product which you have. If you don't have a great product, if you don't have a sizable market which you are addressing to, then even if you come to us and we make an awesome looking deck, it is not going to work. What we can do is, if you have, say, 60 to 70% chances of getting funded, then we can increase that probability to, say, 90-95%. So that is what we can do. We can at least get your presentation catch attention of these investors. They are going to have, say, they have to review 10 or 20 presentation in the next 1 hour. They will open every presentation they have in their email inbox, and they end up opening your presentation, which is very beautifully made. That will attract their attention. Oh, okay, let me spend some time on this. This looks good. So that is where the difference can be made. I'm not saying that only beautiful presentations will raise investments. That is not the case, but it can certainly increase your chances.
Okay. Next one is by Sivaraj, I think. When company reaches break-even revenue without any outside investment, can we go directly for Series A? How will the valuation of the company be calculated?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Yes. So he's saying, I think break-even, it's also kind of subjective, right? It's in comparison to your costs. But anyways, the question is, company reaches break-even revenue without any outside investment. Can we directly go for Series A? How does the valuation of the company work? How is it calculated?
Okay, so now these terms, Series A, Seed, Angel, all these are, it is not directly related to the amount of funding you are raising. So a Series A investment can be of $25 million. A Series A investment can be of $70 million. So it just defines the stage that you are in, the product, in terms of the business. So if you are, say, at an idea stage and you are going for the first ever funding, you will you'll end up going to individual investors, high net worth individuals, or maybe angel investors group. So that will be termed as an angel funding, or before, if you are little later stage, it can be termed as seed funding. And now these days, people have started, giving terms like pre-Series A or pre-Series B. That is done only because they are not ready to actually go to a VC who are more institutionalized and who see a lot of numbers, or so the VCs, they will pay a lot of attention on the projections or what have you done in the past, the actual numbers. If you're not ready for that, you may, but you have already raised your angel funding. So what people will term that as a pre-series A. Okay, I'm not ready for pitching to a VC, but I'm not raising an angel investment also. So these are just terms. You don't have to worry about that. It depends on the stage of the business which you are.
Right. I think this is the last question. Ankita Tiwari, if you're just a student, can you put your credentials and achievements? And do you need exact numbers when it comes to financials?
Sorry,
yeah. If you're a student, can you put your credentials and achievements? And also for the financials, do you need to put exact numbers?
So, yeah, if you are a student, you're just out of college and you have started a company, it's great to have some achievements that you have had in your college days. Maybe that shows your leadership. Maybe you were heading your the annual event committee, or maybe you were running a magazine on your own in the college. So all these achievements show that you have that leadership capabilities in you, or a team managing a team capability. So all these things are good to show to an angel investor or seed investor until you have some achievements in your business itself. And about the financials, if you're talking about your historical financials, what have you done in the past from the day you have started the company? Always show the actual numbers. You can't fake your numbers there. Anyway, these investors, if they are interested in your company, they'll come back and see your bank statement, see your balance sheet, the profit on loss statement. They're going to see that. So you do not want to look stupid there. So, show actual numbers. Projections, everybody understands that nobody in this world can give exact projections how the business is going to do in the next few years. So that you must have a logical reasoning of why you're putting those numbers, but nobody will come and say that you were showing wrong numbers that time. You were not able to achieve these numbers because they'll be in loop always as the business is developing.
All right. The next question is, I think 3 or 4 people are asking the same question. Tentative costing to get a pitch deck done by a professional organization.
So let's do that. I have my email ID on the screen now. I would request that you can connect me with me because this session is not about that.
All right, sure. So people can reach out to Deepak individually for that.
Yeah.
I mean, we will be sharing the recording of the session and the deck used and the contacts for Deepak and Sparklewood, everything in one email together. So that will be done. This is something by PCI Mission, large social impact business in renewable space. Should we pitch niche only to a certain type of investors or anyone who might be in tech space? No, sorry, as most of them are in tech space. So I guess the question is, should he focus only on people who are looking for mandates or impact investment in renewable space, or should they also try investors even if they are in tech space?
You study their portfolio if you are going. If you are in an impact business, I am guessing that you are in a non-profitable space, right? If that is the case, it is always better to go to all these impact investment networks where these investors are interested in sustainable kind of businesses. But there's no rule that you can't go to these tech-led investors if you have mostly just study their portfolio. If they have invested in a similar company as yours, you can reach out to them. If just don't send cold emails. Find somebody who can introduce you to them, and then send them a pitch deck.
Right. So we don't have any more questions. So I guess we can wrap up the session.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for taking out time in the middle of the week. Good night. Take care. Deepak, so much. Thank you so much. I mean, I'll reach out to you separately again anyways.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.